Season 1 of House of the Dragon is now officially over, with the season finale premiering just a few weeks ago. Now that the series is over, I thought it would be a great time to go back and look at each episode individually and rank them from my least favorite to most favorite. Before we start this list, I want to clarify, first and foremost, that I'm a huge fan of George Martin and the books. I loved the season, I thought it was great, and I really did enjoy every episode. So just because an episode is ranked lower in the list, it does not mean I did not enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Alright, coming in at number 10 on the list, I have put episode 6, The Princess and the Queen. This episode serves the largest time jump in the series as we jump forward 10 years and we get to finally meet Emma Darcy and Olivia Cooke, playing the older versions of Rhaenyra and Alicent. With this episode, we get to meet everyone's children now that they're all older, so we get to see Aegon, Aemon, Helena, Luke, Jace, Baela, Rhaena, and everybody. So I really enjoyed seeing all that and seeing these characters come to life on the screen for the first time, so all of that was really great. The reason I rank this episode the lowest among all of them would be because of the death of Lionel, Harwin, and Laena Targaryen. Having these characters die so suddenly and so quick in this episode felt pretty rushed to me, if I'm being honest. I would have liked to have seen a lot more development with Laena and especially Harwin and Rhaenyra's relationship together. I feel like the show didn't do a great job establishing that Harwin and Rhaenyra had really any chemistry between them, and I feel like the episode just kind of opens and they already have 3 kids together, and the people in King's Landing are already saying, oh, you know, the children are bastards and Harwin is the father, and I feel like the show kind of just forces that a little bit. So I would have liked to see a little bit more of that. Another episode or 2 dedicated to it would have been good, especially with Laena. I feel like with Laena, you know, the show starts and she's so young, and then it jumps ahead at the wedding in episode 5. She's a little bit older, and we jump ahead one more episode, and now she's an adult, and before we get to even really know her, she's already dead. Which, you know, she does die in the book, so, you know, she was going to die regardless, but I feel like her death came a little sudden, and I would have liked to spend more time with her before she went. So again, I don't think this is a bad episode necessarily, but for those reasons, I'm going to have to rank it right here. Alright, next on the list at number 9, I have ranked episode 2, The Rogue Prince. So to quickly summarize some main points, we see Rhaenyra selecting Criston Cole to join the Kingsguard, Laena making her marriage proposal to Viserys when they're walking together in the gardens. At the very end of the episode, we see Daemon and Corlys agreeing to fight together in the Stepstones. And the big highlight of the episode would be when Daemon steals the dragon egg and takes it back to Dragonstone, where he is then confronted by Otto on the bridge, leading to the castle before Rhaenyra comes and flies in on Syrax to calm down the situation. So again, I would say this isn't a bad episode, but not too much happens that pushes the story compared to other episodes in the season. Overall, we do get some really nice character development, and it's just a classic Game of Thrones dialogue-heavy episode. So for that reason, I have put it here. Next up at number 8, I have episode 4, King of the Narrow Sea. This episode is arguably the spiciest episode of the season. In this episode, we see Rhaenyra sneaking out into Flea Bottom with her uncle, Daemon, and, how do I put this? Hooking up with, everybody. So yeah, basically Rhaenyra goes off into the city with Daemon, and he takes her to different brothels and shows her around town. They see the play. You know, she gets to see how the common folk perceive her and the royal family, and it's just a good time, you know. And then, things get a little kinky. You know, Daemon gets a little, he can't finish the job, so Rhaenyra goes back home, she gets all angry, and then, you know, her and Crispy Cole, they do a little the fun stuff. So then things get a little crazy. Viserys gets pissed about hearing about what happened, and all hell breaks loose a little bit. Rhaenyra and Viserys have a nice conversation together where they're trying to figure out what happens, and ultimately it leads to Viserys deciding to fire Otto as Hand of the King. This was a great scene, I really enjoyed it. And yeah, overall it's a great episode. Another thing I do really like about this episode is how it kind of leans into how the book is written. Because in the book, the thing is, like, you have multiple sources telling you what happens, so you're kind of unsure of what the actual truth is. And so I like how in this episode, we kind of see the same thing, where one person says, you know, Rhaenyra was with Daemon, one person says Rhaenyra wasn't with Daemon, and no one really knows the truth. So I like how they kind of wrote that into the episode, because it feels very accurate to the book. So overall, really good. Next up at number 7, I have episode 3, Second of His Name. Episode 3 is our big battle episode of the season. In this episode, we get to see Daemon, Corlys, and Laenor as they all fight together down on the Stepstones against the Triarchy. I thought this whole sequence was really great, even though, you know, the criticisms people have, like Daemon running and charging all the arrows and, you know, dodging all of them. Even though it's a little unbelievable, you know, whatever. It doesn't really bother me that much, and overall, I thought it was a really great sequence and well shot and entertaining. Obviously, we get to see Daemon at the end when he goes and kills the crab feeder, Kragus, so that was really cool. I like the decision that they made to have him be killed off-screen and have Daemon just walk out with the body. I thought that was a good choice because, honestly, if they were to show the fight on screen, I feel like it would honestly kind of be a little boring because, you know, Daemon has a Valyrian steel sword, Dark Sister, and Kragus is, you know, just a regular insane pirate, so obviously Daemon would completely destroy him. So I feel like having to show that on screen is kind of unnecessary. So having the choice with him just walking out with the body, I thought that was good enough. But besides the big battle, the other half of the episode was all about the hunt and Viserys and Rhaenyra being out in the Kingswood and going after the hunt for the White Stag. I thought this was also great. You really get to see the tension between Rhaenyra and Viserys, and how Viserys wants Rhaenyra to get married, and Rhaenyra doesn't want to get married, so she runs off. And there's the whole thing with the boar and Rhaenyra seeing the White Stag. I thought all that was really great, and made for just good television. I don't know what else to say. It was a good episode. So yeah. Okay, next up at number 6, I have put episode 9, The Green Council. So again, to me, this was another great episode, just like the rest of them this season. And this one, we get to see the aftermath of Viserys' death and the Greens plotting and taking action within the city. I thought it was great. There was a lot of tension, a lot of drama, seeing them just take action and act all without Rhaenyra even knowing. It was really intense just watching the whole thing, even despite having read the book. It's like it keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time as you just wait and see, what's going to happen. It just keeps you wondering. And the whole race for trying to find Aegon with Aemond and Kristen Cole running through the city alongside the twins, Eric and Ark, going and trying to find him. I thought all of that was really great, and it kind of creates a sense of urgency, I guess, trying to find Aegon and, who's going to find him first. I thought that was great because obviously Otto wants him because he wants to crown him, and, Otto also has plans to take out Rhaenyra, while Alicent, also wants to crown him, but she doesn't want to take the same kind of violent actions that her father does. So it creates this battle between them and trying to see, who's going to get to Aegon first and who's going to take control of the situation. So there's a lot of tension there, a lot at stake, and I thought that whole thing was really great. And so obviously at the end of the episode, we see Aegon in his coronation within the dragon pit. I thought that sequence was great. And so obviously now the big controversial bit, Rhaenys bursting out of the floor on her dragon Meleys. To me, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, to be honest. I know this episode was kind of controversial for a lot of people because some people didn't like that choice. Like how Rhaenys chooses to spare Alicent and Aegon in that moment on her dragon when she can easily just kill them on her dragon. I thought it was a good choice not to have her kill them because, honestly, if she were to just kill them, there would be no story. That would be it. The season would just be over. So that's the most obvious answer. But just beyond that too, I feel like it would just, if she were to just kill them, I feel like it'd just be poor writing. Just to have her burst through and take it into her own hands. I feel like that just wouldn't make sense for her character. So, yeah, I don't know. It didn't bother me that much, but I know for some people they didn't like it, which I can see why. But for me, it wasn't that big of a deal. Okay, next on the list at number 5, I have put episode 10, the finale, The Black Queen. So in this episode, we get to see Rhaenyra and the Blacks and their perspective of the whole situation. We get to see Rhaenyra get crowned as queen finally, which was a really fantastic scene. Obviously the pilot, episode 1, ends with her being named heir, and now finally in the finale to see her being crowned as queen was really cool to come for full circle and see that scene come to life. Something I really was looking forward to from the books. It was also great seeing Rhaenyra and Daemon and Rhaenys and Corlys all plotting together in the war room along the table and making their plan for what to do and how to respond. I thought all of that was really great. I love the scheming and the politicking, and all of that was really fantastic. So obviously the big moment of the episode is when Lucerys goes south to Storm's End and tries to win over the Baratheon support, only to find our boy Aemond and Big Daddy Vhagar waiting for him. So yeah, that whole sequence with Aemond chasing him through the sky was phenomenal. I mean, it was just, you get movie monster vibes just seeing the sheer size difference between Vhagar and Arax, Lucerys' dragon. So that was great, really intense. And just, he breaks through the clouds, and just when you think he's free, boom, right there behind him, there he is, Vhagar, just to chomp him. Another change from the book that I really like, I like how, in the show, we kind of see Aemond losing control of Vhagar, and how Aemond did not want to kill him. But in the book, that's not the case at all. In the book, Aemond was definitely out for blood, and he totally meant to do what he did. But I like the change in the show, that it was kind of an accident, because it enforces the idea that, the Targaryens don't really control the dragons like they think they do. And the consequences of using and riding these beasts can be huge. I mean, the whole death of Lucerys is really what's going to spark the rest of the show. So, yeah, really a great sequence. And again, I like the choice to make it an accident because I feel like it adds more development to Aemond's character, which, honestly, to me, Aemond is one of the standout stars of the whole season. I thought his performance just in those last 3 episodes with Ewan Mitchell was phenomenal. Okay, next up at number 4, getting close to the end now, we have episode 5, We Light the Way. Episode 5, now this is the episode where we see Rhaenyra and her wedding to Laenor Velaryon. I thought the whole wedding sequence was really good. One of my favorite sequences from the whole season. The whole Velaryon entrance of them coming into the room was really cool, seeing them all together. Just the clothing and the outfits and the music and the sheer scale and everything. The food, it's great. Looked amazing. So obviously the big moment of the episode comes at the end when Criston Cole snaps and kills Joffrey, Laenor's boyfriend. I thought that scene was really kind of surprising. It really hits you hard, just seeing Criston just completely go nuts in that moment and just decide to kill Joffrey, just in cold blood, barehanded. So yeah, really, really intense. Also, earlier in the episode, we get the scene of when we get to meet Daemon's wife over in the Eyrie, and I cannot remember her name right now. But yeah, we get to meet her, and we get to see Daemon killing her in cold blood by smashing her head in with a rock. Yeah, I don't understand why so many people love Daemon. I mean, the guy literally is a maniac, and he literally murdered his wife in cold blood. But we'll just let that slide, I guess. But yeah. So episode 5, We Light the Way, really good, really solid, and for me, it comes in at number 4. Okay, next up at number 3, I have ranked episode 7, Driftmark. In this episode, we get to see the aftermath of Laena Velaryon's death after she died in episode 6. So we get to see our whole cast of characters come together for her funeral on Driftmark. The whole sequence with the funeral and all of them together afterwards was really a great sequence, and emotional too. Just dealing with the death of Laena, and you can really see it hit hard for Rhaenys and Corlys and her brother Laenor. Again, like I mentioned at the start of the video, I thought her death felt a little rushed to me. But nevertheless, seeing the aftermath of it was really nice and made for a great scene. But the real big thing of the episode is obviously when we get to see Aemond go and claim Vhagar for the first time. That whole sequence with him mounting him and claiming him and taking him for the ride was honestly breathtaking. If I had to pick a word, it was great. Just seeing him mount him. I mean, at this point in time, you have to keep in mind that Vhagar is literally the oldest and largest living dragon in the entire known world. So getting to see Aemond go on and take him for a spin was just awesome. It also just kind of I like how it puts the realism of how terrifying and dangerous it would be riding a dragon. Like, you get to see when they're in the air, Aemond is just barely clinging on for dear life and almost falling off. And I don't know, I kind of like that, because in Game of Thrones, it's you see Daenerys and Jon riding the dragons, and in Game of Thrones, they don't even have saddles. They're just, bare sitting on it, just riding it. But then after that, obviously, we get to see Aemond when he lands and the whole fight between all the kids, and Aemond obviously losing his eye, giving him the name Aemond One Eye, as we know him in the book. That whole fight was great, really well directed, well shot, and just intense, just watching the kids go at it and just beat the living hell out of each other. And then obviously, we get to see the whole aftermath with Rhaenyra and Alicent, and that's the first time you really see them clash together like that, with Alicent pulling the knife on her and cutting her arm. Really intense, and setting the stage of this rivalry between them. So really, really good. And just at this point, we're seeing Viserys towards the end of his journey, and he's just really weak and sick of it and wants his family to get along, but the seeds have been planted and he can't stop it, and it's just hard to watch, man, but it's just so damn enjoyable. So yeah, episode 7, Driftmark. Really great episode. Alright, next up at number 2, I've put episode 1, the pilot, The Heirs of the Dragon. Episode 1, I thought was phenomenal. I think it was a fantastic pilot. It was an amazing introduction to this, being back in this world again after, season 8 of Game of Thrones, which we won't talk about here. But yeah, I thought it was great being back in this world, and just the introduction to all these characters, getting to meet Viserys for the first time, and Daemon and Rhaenyra and Alicent and Otto and just everybody. It was perfect introduction. The tourney sequence was so good. So good. I rewatched that scene so many times just because I love it. The action, the way it's shot is just perfect. Pairing the tourney alongside Viserys' wife Emma and her, the childbirth was just so hard to watch and just painful. It's hard. It's hard to watch, man. Just watching them go in and trying to take the baby out is rough. But having it pair together with the tourney, the editing, the way it just comes together so well, and just makes for a great, engaging, banging episode to start the season. So to me, I thought this episode was honestly, I would give this episode a 10 out of 10. I thought this was a phenomenal episode. I also just want to say for the record, leading up to before the show came out, I was there day one. It was announced. I thought the show was going to be amazing from the start. I know a lot of people doubted it after season 8 of Game of Thrones, but you know, I had a lot of faith in the creative team, and I just had a feeling the show was going to be a hit. And lo and behold, here we are at the end. It was great. Every episode was amazing, and this one was just so strong to start the season, and I love it. I love it so much. It's just a great episode. All right, and finally, in our number 1 spot, I have put, as of my favorite episode of the season, Episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. Now, all right, you probably saw this one coming, but come on, man. Episode 8 was so good, man. In this episode, we get to see our final performance with King Viserys, played by Paddy Considine, who was absolutely amazing this season. I would say the standout star of the season. My favorite by a long shot, to be honest. His performance was just so strong this season, and especially this episode, seeing his life come to an end as he's battling with this just disease that's just crippling him, literally killing him from the inside out. Just horrible. Horrible to see, horrible to watch, but so strong on screen and just really tugs at your heartstrings. And man, it was just a great episode. The sequence with Viserys coming into the throne room to defend Rhaenyra as he makes his way to the throne was just so good, and I would say my favorite scene of the whole season. Just watching him get up there and sit on that damn throne one last time to defend his daughter, and when the crown falls off his head and Daemon comes and picks it back up and puts it on him, like, it's just so good, man. And that scene, which you probably already know, but that part when the crown falls off his head, it wasn't even in the script, but you know, Matt Smith on set, he picked it up, put it back on Paddy's head, and it was just so perfect, and they kept it in because it is perfect. It works so well, and just shows that connection between Daemon and his brother, and that final moment as he pushes just to go up there and sit on the throne in defense of his daughter, his one and only daughter, by his first and only true love, Emma. And then the whole sequence with the dinner that they're all having together was another just amazing moment. You get to see this final, really probably the final time ever in the whole show we're ever going to see again, all those characters together, just sitting together and not trying to kill each other, just seeing them all sit together and having this nice moment, and Viserys thinking, all is well, when in reality all is not well whatsoever. But Viserys and his, last, knowing that he's coming to an end of his life, just knowing he wants his family to be together and to enjoy their company together, and he gets that last final wish, which was really nice to see. He dies at the end of the episode thinking that his family's all cool, when in reality that's the complete opposite. But he died thinking it was, which is, I guess, good for him, just not knowing all the chaos that's about to ensue. The final line by Viserys as his hand as he reaches out and he calls to his wife Emma, that line was also improvised by Paddy Considine, and again, it's just a great addition, so strong. Seeing the character journey of Viserys from the start of the season to this episode was so strong and made for a great performance. But yeah, that's number 1 for me. Alright, and there you have it. That's my full ranking of every episode in House of the Dragon Season 1. Let me know if you agree in the comments. Maybe leave a comment with your own list. The season overall, I think literally just a couple minor things could have been different, but otherwise I thought the season was near perfection. So really just so strong getting back into this world, and really I think restoring the fandom and the faith in the Game of Thrones universe and showing how good it can be when in the right hands. But with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video and this list and hearing me rant about this show for the last however long it's been. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment with your list, and yeah, I will see you in the next one.